Good evening. Welcome to our board meeting this evening. We appreciate you being here. Before we begin, we'd like, first of all, to take a moment and remember those of 9/11, express our gratitude and profound loss. We'd like to begin with a Pledge of Allegiance. I will offer that, and then Mrs. Lizardi will offer an invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, this being the week of remembrance of 9/11, we remember those lost 17 years ago, their families, and all of our first responders, especially those in our community who protect us from fires and violence. We remember our feelings of emptiness as our sense of security and our own confidence in the predictable order of life was radically shaken. As we are confronted with scary situations, we pray for your guidance for our staff and for our students. And it is right that it should not pass from our memory. We should never forget. Today, in our prayer and in our remembrance of profound loss, it also seems right that we give notice and voice to our deep longing for peace. And with this prayer, commit ourselves to those actions that will protect our community, our school district, and those we love. In your holiest name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll move we approve the agenda.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. 2.2, Mr. Housley.
Mr. President, members of the board, if you wouldn't mind coming around to the front, we'll recognize our legendary staff this evening. And as your building principal and yourself come up, we'll shake hands and then take a picture, so don't run off. Trying to avoid pictures. Mrs. Jaramillo, if you'll come up first, that'll be great.
Good evening, members of the board, Mr. Housley. I am bringing to you today Christine Rumses. So the very first time we did legendary staff members, Christine was my legendary staff member, but I want a do-over because at that time, I didn't really know what I got. It was like my first year and I didn't realize what a gem that I had. And I just want to tell you that it's been awesome. So when I first got there, we kind of looked at some goals and things we needed to get in place. And one of those things was really looking at how are we making all kids successful, and especially when they're struggling socially and emotionally. And so Christine and I have talked over the last 2 years, and it's been just so refreshing and so nice to have someone work alongside your staff and your kids. And she always comes across very composed and very calm and reassuring to children and parents and staff members alike. And I just think she is an amazing person to have in Show Low School District. So that's why I wanted to do over to tell you how really good she was and present her to you tonight.
Thank you.
Mrs. Clark?
Good evening. It's my pleasure tonight to celebrate with you the health tech at Shola Junior High School, Mrs. Tina Stabenow. I'm going to read a statement, but before I do, I wanted to let you know that when I kind of approached Tina and said that I wanted to recognize her as my legendary staff member, she gave me a list of people who are more deserving. and I talked her down, so here we are. Mrs. Tina Stabenow is a valued member of the Shola Junior High School staff. She works to support students, teachers, and staff in every way possible. For example, Mrs. Stabenow is often the first one to respond in a crisis, often tough situations that require her to remain calm and collected. She is capable and confident in her job responsibilities and makes others feel at ease during such times of crisis. And I've told her, I'm not good in an emergency, so I'm going to need you to do it. Mrs. Stabenow contributes to our school community in many ways. At our back to school night, Tina volunteered her time to assist in directing parents and students to various locations and worked with the PTSO. She volunteered her time for this event because her contract did not start until the first day of school. So that was absolutely on her own. Tina assists in organizing charitable contributions for students' families during the holiday season. She assists the staff at the district's preschool in caring for students' medical needs. It's not unusual to see her running, red medical bag in hand, across the parking lot to the preschool. Sorry. Some days, I wonder how we would ever help students without Tina. I value her contribution and friendship. I'm very out of breath.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your efforts greatly. Item 2.3, superintendent reports to include comments on extracurricular activities, curriculum, and current events. Mr. Housley.
Mr. President, members of the board, we have just some things that I want to share with you. As we talked about earlier in the school year, our enrollment numbers are doing very well. We've made adjustments to make sure that we could cover those students, and I think the school year is continuing with the great start that we had at the beginning that I reported last month. Believe it or not, parent-teacher conferences are next week, which means that fall break is just around the corner. And that brings some exciting stuff that we'll mention a little later on in the bond, but we are actually starting some construction projects that will be started and concluded during the fall break period. And we're pretty excited about what that'll, as the ball starts rolling on that and work starts to increase. It's pretty neat to see that happen. I did meet this week with the Bond Oversight Committee and had a great meeting with them and talked through the projects. It seems that they're pleased with the progress that's happening, and we were able to walk through some of the plans and the timelines. And some of those timelines will come out in the paper as they share the excitement that we have for the projects getting ramped up. I know it seems like those things have taken a little longer getting going, but as I've said before, it's a juggling act. We're trying to find money that the SFB can pay for, think projects that they can pay for, and things that the bond can pay for. If we can make that the partnership between the two, take our $10 million bond and turn it into $15 million, I'm all for that. And we are really close to making that happen. And so once that gets in place, we can get it running. One of the projects that we've been told that it would never happen by some people, we've been working on for a year and a half. That's has to do with the high school gym, air conditioning, the floor restoration, and other things. It looks like we're moving in the right direction with that. We've picked up some speed on getting that approved. And I share it in this report because I'm just really excited about it. That could be upwards of $20 million in itself.
Wow.
So we're pretty excited for how that's all looking. So
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Item 2.4, call to the audience. It looks like we have two people who would like to visit with the board. It looks like you both are would like to talk about the same thing. If you would like, you can approach together and do that together if you'd like, or if you want to do that separate, that's fine too. Either way, we're okay.
We'll go separate.
Okay, super. Want to remind you, you've got 3 minutes each, okay? Thanks.
I'm Jessica Smith, and I am here in regards to my son, Ethan Smith. I am requesting that he be able to have, that the board allow into looking into admittance into Sholo High School. Now, Ethan was expelled from Sequoia Village School in November of last year. After a thorough investigation with the Navajo County Sheriff's Department and the DA's office, it was deemed that no crime had been committed, but Sequoia decided to uphold that expulsion. Since then, we have not been able to get him into any school, including online, and my son is suffering from not being able to have a proper education. I would like fair consideration. I understand that, you know, that the district has a policy of anytime there's any kind of expulsion, no questions asked, there's no admittance. But not every situation is black and white. And I believe that if you looked at the evidence that was provided to the district and to the special ed director, that there would be enough there to show you that this child is not a threat. And indeed, we have a letter from the DA's office saying that no crime was committed, therefore, he really shouldn't have been expelled in the first place. You know, so many things happen in our lives and we make mistakes. And this was a mistake of a 13-year-old boy that said something wrong. And while I agree what he said was absolutely unnecessary, that doesn't change the fact that he was still a kid and he was getting bullied at the time and that there was a lot of other things going on. He has had a previous IEP for emotional behaviors and needed supports. He has a history of social anxieties and getting along with peers his own age. Well, not necessarily getting along, but being age appropriate. He's kind of 2 years younger mentally than he is the boys his age. So maybe the boys his age might be into girls. He still likes Pokemon. So sometimes he overcompensates for that by saying inappropriate things to try to blend in and be a part of his peers. I just want a fair shake, really. I feel like an immediate no is kind of a stretch. I feel like that it was unjustified, and I feel that he really needs to look at, you know, taking all of the information into consideration before completely banning him from having an education. I mean, if we can't even do anything online, how am I supposed to make sure that he gets what he needs? I mean, you are required by law to get an education. But if I can't get that for him, then I'm accountable. But at the same time, we're all accountable because he is a member of this district. We did enrollment. It took a month just to get somebody to say he can't come to school. And even then, I don't have a formal letter stating that he is not allowed in the school district. Things should be done in a timely manner so that other arrangements can be made if there is a denial. And if there is a denial, I believe that there should be a reason for that denial listed in a letter so that we have things to move forward. So I'm just asking for consideration and looking at all of the facts that have been provided to your district and before we can move forward. So thanks.
Thank you.
I am Ethan's grandmother, and he is the oldest of my 24 grandchildren, and he leads the way for all my grandkids. he is a very good boy, and he's been in private schools. She has taken so much of her time, even with 13 children. This woman has put this boy, this oldest boy, in a private school in Idaho to give him an education. She's taken him to counseling. She's done everything for this boy, and he is a good boy. He is a good boy. And what is happening to him is very unfair. And so we will stand till the very bitter end to see that something happens so that he can have an education, not only for him, leading for his path, but 23 other grandchildren that are watching all of this happen. And he sent over a message, and I just want to read you what he said about, because he's very concerned. He wants to be a rocket scientist. He's got high dreams and high goals, this boy does. He says, I am Ethan Smith. I haven't been in school for 2 years because of one comment I made. I guarantee that all of you had made at least one comment in your life. I said, I'm going to kill you to a classmate. And a way you can relate that comment is if you had a sibling, think of when you were a kid and then you broke something of yours that was really important to you. Be honest. Did you say the same thing? I did. And I know for a fact that you did because I have 12 other siblings in my scenario, and it happens every single day. Now imagine every time you said that, you were held accountable for it. Like everything we say, that was unreal. My family and my future should not be on the line because of one comment that I said and something that I meant as a joke, because I guarantee that every single person in this world has said or thought something and taken it wrong. Wrong at least once in their life, to a coworker, a boss, a family member, or if you have one of your own kids. I personally see the whole thing very stupid and completely unfair. When I got expelled, my mother and my great-grandfather tried 10 different schools to see if they would accept me. And just the fact that I was expelled from that one school made them not even consider me to be a student. The police have said there's no crime that's been committed here. Now imagine if you were my mom, what would you be doing right now to try to get your kid back in school? And that's from my grandson. And we're all fighting for him, and we will fight it for him. And we hope that you really take this into consideration because we're going to go all the way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming to see us. We appreciate that. Moving on to item 3.1, approval of overnight and out-of-state travel.
Mr. President, members of the board, this was a opportunity that came up for our students, for a group of high school band council members, and they traveled to Phoenix last Saturday to participate in the band council meeting. And there was a small group of Mr. Pratt that went down. So I'd ask for your approval of that travel as outlined.
Oh, they do.
I think the band council is just kind of like a little council,
They
similar
just
to the conferences we might attend, but with band students.
I make
I
a,
have to excuse myself from voting on this because my kids are on this.
oh, we never get to vote on anything.
Well, that's what I was thinking, but
No, it doesn't include purchasing anything.
all right, good.
I make a motion for approval of overnight and out-of-state travel.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Before we go on, did we not have a agenda item for new agenda items if we want something? I don't,
Oh, I think I forgot to put that
I
on.
don't see it on
So
there.
if you
Okay.
have something that
I'll
you'd
just-
like to put on a future, just call me.
I'll just have to, okay.
Mhm.
All right, I
That'd be
just wanted to
great. Sorry
check. and
about
make sure.
that.
No, that's okay. Item 4.1, approval of new paraprofessional position for special needs preschool. Mr. Housley.
Mr. President, members of the board, as you are familiar, we have a special needs preschool. And at times at different enrollments, we have children come in that have special needs, varying degrees of special needs. And we have a child that's enrolled that has some very specific special needs that requires that we have a one-on-one with that child. So Mrs. Marsh is requesting that we add an additional paraprofessional to the preschool environment in order to maintain the needs of that child. And I bring that for you for your consideration this evening.
Move we approve a new paraprofessional position for the special needs preschool.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Excuse me. Item 4.2, approval of resignations, retirement, and terminations. Mr. House.
Mr. President, members of the board, we just have two this evening. A resignation from Jacqueline Smith, our high school attendance secretary. And then we had a termination of Alyssa Brown, Whipple Ranch Special Ed TA. I ask for your approval of these resignations and terminations.
I'll make a motion for the approval of resignations and terminations.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. 4.3, approval of new hires and transfers. Mr. Housley.
Mr. President, members of the board, we have a number of paraprofessionals, TAs that we have on the agenda this evening. Most of these have come about as resignations started at the beginning of the year, and we've been trying to hire for the last little bit. And so I bring them for your approval. Olivia Beecroft, Vanessa Curell, Autumn Garvin, William Gernheimer, Shelley Heller, Maria Jackson, Belinda Cool, Julie Masters, Alexandra Meek, Roxanne Price, Kelsey Ramsey, Holly Smith, Rachel Walker, and Ann Williams. Also as a transfer, we have Dwayne Burbage, sub bus driver to a route driver, Victoria Marsh from a Whipple Ranch TA to Whipple Ranch Edgenuity TA, which was formerly our fast forward paraprofessional position. And then Lori Rice from junior high Edgenuity TA to junior high school special ed TA. I bring those for your approval this evening.
I'll move we approve the new hires and transfers.
A second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Item 4.4, approval of classified and certified substitutes. Mr. Housley.
The following individuals have applied to be substitutes in our district. Arnold Abrams, Rosie Bingham, Jonathan Burke, Diane Rusma, Kelly Redding as a classified, Rosie Bingham, Mary Reese, Geneva Sherwood, and Polly Smith. I'd ask that you would approve these substitutes as outlined.
I move for approval of classified and certified substitutes as outlined.
A second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item 4.5, approval of stipends, volunteers, and event workers. Mr. Housley, please.
We have a high school football volunteer, Randolph Moffitt, as an assistant coach, pending some fingerprint clearance and things that we're waiting on. High school girls soccer, Hunter Marsh as an assistant coach. Junior high cheer, Gabe Moya. Linden Robotics, Dina Miller. And event workers, Quentin Clark and Eric Ludwig. I'd ask for your approval of these individuals.
I'll move we approve these stipends, volunteers, and event workers.
The exception of,
No, that was for something else.
okay, all right. All right. I'll second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item 4.6, approval of contract revisions. Mr. Housley.
As part of our EDP program, that's our emotional disabilities and private placement is what EDP stands for. There are some requirements that those paraprofessionals have as far as state reporting is concerned. And so it's become necessary to extend their contract just slightly from 35 to 37 and a half hours to be able to fulfill that obligation required by the state. And so there are 5 that would fall under that category. Carrie Johnson, Claudia Layton, Nadine Orth, Sandra Padilla, and Dawn Young. Also, Ms. Kelly Spencer's work agreement would be decreased as she's changed positions now from 40 hours to 35 hours as she's made that transition. I'd ask for your approval of these positions.
I move for the approval of the contract revisions as listed.
A second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to item 5.1, approval of a first read for policy advisories 625 and 643 as recommended by Arizona School Boards Association. Mr. Hauser.
Mr. President, members of the board, just a reminder that this is a first reading, and so this isn't for approval or adoption, so we'll take tonight and as that first reading, but just kind of some highlights. There is a couple of statutes and policies then that reflect out on what we needed to do to report the 301, not the 301, the increase in salary that was given through the governor's office. We have to report what our average salary was last year, what it is this year, the number of teachers that we have, the full-time teachers last year, how many we have this year. We have to kind of show that, and it has to be on our website. Currently, if you go onto our website on the front page in the top right-hand side, there's a button that says teacher salary increases, and you click that button and it brings up the document that shows the things that are in here. Also, there's some things on conflict of interest. There was just some changes in there to kind of emphasize that a little bit, nothing too big. There are some adjustments to policy JICK, which is the bullying, harassment, and intimidation policy. You'll also notice there was some policy changes to interscholastic sports, as well as student wellness. This year, as part of the law change, students in K through 3 were required, K through 2, were required to have 2 recesses. One could be the lunch and then one additional. Next year, it would go up to K through 5. All of the students K through 5 would have to have 2 recesses, one that is the lunch and one additional, whether it's in the morning or in the afternoon. So that's that law, and the policy reflects that change. Also, just some other general things on school ceremonies and observance, evaluation of instructional programs, promotion and retention of students, evaluation of staff members. There were some little things. Just on that one, we knew what the changes were going to be. So when you approved the teacher evaluation system last year, those changes were reflected in this. So we did it as we knew the law was being approved. So bring that to you for the first reading this evening.
We don't need to make a motion for approving first reading.
Motion to approve the first reading.
A motion to approve the first reading of policy advisory 625 through 643 is recommended.
I second it.
I motion a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Moving to 6.1, annual bond update. All right.
So, according to ARS 15491K, we have to, if a district has bond dollars that have been unspent, the district is required to give an update as to what those bond dollars are in each category that was in our publicity pamphlet. So up on the screen for you, and I'm not sure if you've got the screens in front of you, if it's up there or not. What we have here is our student safety and security in our publicity pamphlet. We budgeted $1.4 million for that, and so far we have either spent or encumbered. Now, encumbered means plan to spend. We have spent $397,149. Under student transportation, in the publicity pamphlet, it said we were going to spend $1.7 million. And right now we have spent or encumbered $1,454,101.34. Under technology, we budgeted $1.4 million in our publicity pamphlet. To date, we spent $300,560.28. We actually started receiving the television screens that we're going to be putting into the classrooms today. So I believe we received 53 of those just today. And for facility upgrades and renovation, we've spent we budgeted $5.5 million. And to this point, we spent $428,115.47. We are in the process of talking with our contractor, and the numbers they're throwing out there, yeah, that last piece is going to get spent real quick. But Mr. Housley did mention that we are starting to move forward on some bond projects over fall break. We have it planned to start the secure entry vestibules at both Whipple and the high school, and that's where you'll see that that $397,000 under school safety and security. That's where that money there has been spent. Under student transportation, the 1.4, it's those big yellow buses that are driving around town now. Under technology, like I said, we've spent $300,000. A lot of that is in television screens that we're replacing our smart boards with, as well as new Chromebooks for the classrooms. And again, under the facilities upgrade and restoration, the $428,000, that is architectural fees, that is contractor fees. That's everything to get the rest of the projects up and running. So that is our update on the bond. If you have any questions about those expenditures, now would be a good time for those.
Will this be posted on our website? 'Cause that's great
It can
information.
be. It can be.
Yeah, it probably should.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Amy's right. Anything that has to do with the bond,
Mhm.
let the folks know as much as possible so they can be as excited about it as we are.
One of the things
Sure.
we are working with our general contractor is getting daily photo updates so that those can be posted onto the website,
Right.
as well as possibly getting a live webcam put into the buildings where they're actually doing the construction. So if nobody had anything to do at night, they could turn on the webcam and watch the guys going up and down the hallways and
Nice.
doing what it is that they're looking to do.
Right.
But we are looking to get those up so that the community can see that as it's going on.
That's
And
great.
Mr. President, member of the boards, that will be an independent website that we have a link on our website for that the contractor will actually maintain and keep up to date. So they can look at what the bond was established for and in that pricing, we can put things like this on there. They'll put the pictures on there. They'll show beginning and ending. It'll have everything on there and they'll continuously keep that updated so the folks can see
When will
what's
that be
going on.
available?
They're in development now, so it should be any time. I'm sure it should be up at the same time that we start construction.
Okay, thank
Yeah, then people will know when we've actually started projects and
Mhm.
whatnot. That's great. That's great. Okay, moving on to 6.2, approval of guaranteed maximum price amendment 1. Mr. Schubert, this you also?
Yes, sir. So the contract for the guaranteed maximum pricing, that is the contract to get the work done for the first part of the bond projects. This will be the secure entry vestibules at Whipple and at the high school. So since this is over my approval limit, I bring it to you for your approval.
I'll make a motion to approve the guaranteed maximum price, the GMP Amendment 1.
I'll second the motion.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
you.
Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to 7.1.
Mr. President, just before we move on, can we establish for the public that the guaranteed maximum price, the GMP for that project is $260,089?
Thank you. Yeah, that's a good point.
That works over fall break, right?
Yeah, the work will start Friday when kids leave, and it'll conclude Sunday before they come back.
Awesome.
Will they, do you know what kind of schedule they'll keep as far as, is that going to be
Really
pretty,
fast.
is that going to be pretty much around the clock or are they going to actually,
There's a lot of work to do in less than 14 days, so they're going to put in any time that they can. It's probably going to be long days. They may choose to run 2 crews, but their intent is to have everything ready so that when the kids come back on Monday, they're ready. Our staff is ready for them and they can come in and they may have some punch list items on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, some touch-up paint or add some hardware on a desk or something like that, but it's not going to be intrusive.
We're extending our fall break 2 weeks.
We don't need to.
It sounds like it, 14 days.
but that will be cool to watch if they have that, up
It will.
to where we can watch it happen.
Yep.
That's great. Thank you. So 7.1 through 6, correct? The whole consent agenda?
Yes, sir. So tonight, before you bring for your approval, the ratification of our expense vouchers, our payroll vouchers, the ratification of the junior high and high school activity revenues and expenditures, approval of the governing board minutes for the August 14th special meeting, the August 16th special meeting, and the August 28th special meeting. And we also ask that you approve the following donation. Ms. Starla Stansberry donated an Epson printer to Whipple Ranch Elementary with a value of $100. So we would bring this before you tonight for your approvals.
I make a motion for approval of the consent agenda as presented.
I second with a thank you to our community member with her donation.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item 8.1, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
I second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Appreciate you folks being here this evening. Safe travels.